Yeah, so that's why we were able to sponsor. And City Night Out and then the pumpkin.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right, we'll go ahead and call to order our October 14th meeting. If I could have one of our counselors read the land acknowledgement, please.
I can read it.
Awesome, thank you.
The Chinook peoples, known as the Clackamas and Cascades, are the indigenous people of the land now inhabited by the city of Wood Village and other areas of the Columbia River. The village of Nechocli was located near today's Blue Lake Park. Ancestral life of these peoples included a seasonal round of resource gathering and stewardship from the Wapato fields and fishing areas of the Columbia River to the cedar and huckleberry gathering areas of the High Cascades. Introduced disease from early settlers dramatically reduced the number of these people. They signed the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 with the United States government and were forcibly removed to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and protectors of these lands since time immemorial. We also acknowledge the systematic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous Native families today. We are honored by the collective work of many Native nations, leaders, and families who are demonstrating resilience, resistance, revitalization, healing, and creativity. We are honored to be guests upon these lands.
Now if we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So tonight we are swearing in our new appointed council member. Very awesome night, and so we appreciate you stepping up and filling this position.
And so we have Caroline will actually do the oath of office. So if you could stand up, we'll be right up in front here. There's a little quick oath and then a certificate for you. Most likely photos.
You could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Charlene Gothard, being duly sworn on oath, say that I will support the Constitution, the laws of the United States of America, Constitution of the State of Oregon, and the Wood Village Charter of 1953 as amended to date, and will perform my duties as councilperson of the City of Wood Village to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Once again, thank you for stepping up and filling this role. It's an honor to serve next to you in this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and move to citizen comments on non-agenda items.
And we have one.
Awesome. Come on down.
Sure. 10 minutes. Hi, everyone. My name is Lene Amond. Elm Avenue. Is this too close?
That's perfect.
It is? Okay. My name is Lene Amond. I live at 112 Elm Avenue, just a few houses up this way. I'm very happy to be here tonight. Do I have to say anything else besides that, like for the record? Mayor, Council President, I am late for this, but when I saw your positions change, like this is, I'm honored to be speaking to you, and I'm really proud of the council. I especially was proud, like I stood up when I saw you talking at the mayor's council, that might not be the right name for it, but saying like this, the federal presence is not okay. And yeah, I didn't think I could be prouder, but apparently I can be. And there is some Portland Immigration Resource Center is hosting some community like gathering and like, what's the word? Watch, community watch, neighborhood watch. Some neighborhood watch in regard to federal presence, and on their Instagram and social medias, they have a list, and one is on October 16th. So I just wanted to leave that as a resource. I also wanted to talk tonight about the McMenamins bus stop. Every time I drive by, especially during festival music season, someone's standing this far away from the road. They're gonna be killed. It's, you know, like if they haven't been already, I'm not sure. And people park right here because, you know, the dead end you can walk through. It's safer for people to walk through the park. And there is tension when people park and they're not respectful. I mean, they can do that legally, but at the same time, like I feel McMenamins that while your beer is delicious, it's not worth someone's life. And I think it would really help. I mean, everyone uses that bus stop, including their employees and the people who see their music. So just want to say that into public record. And then lastly, it was about 2 years since October 7th, when there was a Hamas attack on an Israeli music festival. And 2 years since I came around as a counselor, I came around and I sat and gave a public comment. And what I wish I would have done more is be more annoying when I was on the council about things that were important to me. And since then, the U.S. has given over $40 billion to Israel for military assistance in arms sales. There's been 67,000 confirmed deaths, 186,000 direct or indirect deaths. UNICEF estimates 50,000 children, which is a little over 1,000 school buses have died since that time as a result of Israeli violence. 270 journalists have been killed. 1.9 million people have been displaced. 548 schools are damaged or destroyed. 99% of households are food insecure in Gaza. 92% of homes in Gaza destroyed. 2,700 families eradicated, like second cousins, third cousins, gone from the registry of this earth. And when I hear the land acknowledgement, I can't help. I've never been able to. I can't help but conflate those two things and really compare them in terms of settler colonial violence. And if dying kids aren't our red line, then I don't know what is. And you can say like, well, what the local government can do. I saw what the local government can do. You show me every day. You know, you care about people. And I just worry that kind of intensity could be turned on our own citizens, which it very well is and may continue to be. So I appreciate your time, and you have my email. So if you want any of the PIRC information, and thanks again.
Thank you so much. I would just like to quickly comment on the kind of current situation we're dealing with right now. And I appreciate your comments, and it's something that we continue to work. You know, they're in the building right now, but I appreciate the MCSO and their partnership and their continuing standing with the community and, you know, just not falling into that narrative and ensuring our community that they're here to protect them. They're not here to do anything damaging that could be portrayed that way. So I appreciate your comments, and we'll continue to do what we can. Thank you.
And if I could just, a quick update on Halsey. So Wood Village did adopt the Main Streets on Halsey conceptual plan. In our adoption, we actually emphasized the Edgefield section as the priority. While there was a lot of that was good and pretty and probably was better functional, we knew that was an area of immediate need. There's also the County Transportation Safety Action Plan, which is still being developed now, and we're advocating that Halsey be, that section of Halsey be elevated at least for interim improvements through that process. So we knew it was near and dear to your heart. We're on council, and it's still, even though not in our community, we know it impacts our people. So
And what I can do is elevate it to our district commissioner as well. He's county supporter, and I know these are the type of things he wants to hear from the community. And so the more voices, the frequent things we can elevate to him, I know it will be on their radar as significant as it is to you, it is to them as well. So I would appreciate those comments. Thank you. I will go ahead and move to public safety report with our chief.
Good evening. Yes. So, see, September kind of started off on a busy. You guys, we talked about it in the last council meeting, but there were the kind of a robbery string at the Plaid Pantry on 242nd, and then also the Byway Market where there was a shooting. One of the suspects in that has been in custody that night, and the other suspect's been identified and still under investigation. But for the most part, you know, the male that was shot is going to survive. He's had a lot of surgeries, a lot of things, but thankfully, you know, he's still with us. So other than that, other bigger call, I guess, in September on the 22nd, there was a shoplifting going on at Walmart. And then when the suspect was contacted by staff from the store, he produced a knife. And so that kind of made it a robbery. Nobody was injured. He ran away at that point, and nobody chased after him or anything. And that's still being investigated by detectives. So since then, though, we've kind of slowed down as we get into fall. Hopefully things are calming down now. But in September, I think there were 12 crashes. I actually went through the crashes in detail this last month, and looks like there were 5 hit and runs. 3 of those were in parking lots, so unattended vehicles crashes basically, and then 2 other crashes. It looked like you know, 6 of the crashes were on 238th Avenue, which I think is pretty consistent throughout, you know, month to month. So we're right around average. Luckily, none of these crashes have been serious injuries or anything like that. It's mostly just inattentive drivers. I think just the influx of people into the city every day with commuters and then also the businesses. So we just see a lot more traffic in Wood Village for the population size. It's definitely during the day, it swells, you know, well beyond just residents. And then see, in December, just so you know, we're going to do a enhanced mission in Wood Village, just kind of looking at traffic complaints, livability issues. We're going to staff it with deputies on overtime. So they're specifically just going to be looking at things in Wood Village, kind of looking for problem areas. So if there's anywhere specific that you guys would like them to try to look at, but primarily they're going to be looking at traffic and things like that. So just want you aware, but you know, when we know the exact date, I'll let you know, but it'll be, you may see an increased presence in sheriff's office vehicles and things like that, but you'll be aware of when it is. So yeah. Questions or anything, or what's going on lately?
No, I like to see you guys cruising around Wood Village. I really enjoy seeing your cars because it makes me feel safe.
Good. Yeah. Well, we definitely have somebody here. You know, it's one of our districts, so there's always somebody in the area every day.
I just September you guys came to the celebration, so I really appreciate that. not as well attended as years past, but I think it was still. Sorry, I don't think this was on. It's amazing to see, you know, just the bond that you guys have continued to establish with the community and them not feeling, you know, nervous while you guys were here. So just the invite and that collaboration of community building once again. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. See you guys later.
We'll go ahead and do review of bills paid. Any questions on the front page or what was in the staff report? And then can we get a motion on consent calendar?
Move to,
Go ahead.
move to approve the consent calendar.
I second that.
First and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll go ahead and move to presentation by PGE update.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, Council President, and council members. It's great to be back. My name is Larry Becketall, Senior Vice President for Advanced Energy Delivery and Strategy at Portland General Electric. And I'm glad to be back. I want to say about 9 months ago. Rihanna was here with us. She was our representative at the time. She has now gone to the city of Portland, doing a great job there. And so, you know, as all of us, people move around. And so I don't know if you all have had a chance to meet Preston, of course, but Preston is now our eyes and ears here. And so anytime you need help or assistance, please twist his arm, beat him on the head, whatever it takes, use and abuse him. We appreciate his efforts being here and being available to you. So by all means, do so. And with that, we want to do a quick update, things that, you know, are on, but I do also want to open up to you all for questions and answers. So I'll see if I can maybe, oh, there we go. We can advance here a little bit. So a couple of things that as we're going around and meeting with communities, I want to bring up some things that, you know, have been happening, you know, in this greater, I'll call it Troutdale, Woodville / Gresham. We've got about 300 of our employees. That's about 1/10 of our workforce that lives in and around the area here. And so we kind of want to call those things out to say, you know, where are our employees and where are they living and what communities are they involved with? The growth since 1990, 67% for you guys. And I want to, you know, I kind of think about that as I understand 1 mile square,
Yeah.
if that's correct still. You know, 67% since 1990 that you've grown in that particular area is pretty intense. And so we call that out. And why 1990? 1990 is, as we think about, and I know there was an aluminum plant out here, industries kind of changed. Again, dams were built in the 30s. The transmission, because the World War II broke out, the aluminum industry came in, and that's when all the transmission was built. And I may have mentioned that I had worked at Bonneville before joining Portland General Electric and ran the transmission. So, you know, we kind of understand it from a regional perspective. And the chip manufacturing came in after the aluminum industry has left. And so it has picked up, you know, quite a bit. But at the same time, transmission is the same. We haven't really built anything for the most part since that time frame. So we call it out that communities are growing, and how do we meet the needs as you are thinking and planning, and how critical it is for us to work together. So we understand what you're wanting to do and what could happen in the community, and make sure that we're prepared for that so we can meet those needs. And I think you've got like a 26-acre parcel that's here for multi-development, et cetera, that may have been the old racetrack or something that sits out. I mean, as you're thinking about those things, what you're wanting to do, please keep us in mind. because it's easier to start from the beginning than it is to try to catch up, later on. So we appreciate your thoughts there. You see the customers, 1,521 residential customers, 256 commercial customers. What I did find out was that your load here at peak is 8 megawatts. What's 8 megawatts? Well, 1 megawatt's about 350 homes. So, is there 25,000 homes? Not necessarily, but that means you have some industries, et cetera, that are going on. And we always keep that in mind as you say, okay, how are we going to serve that? If you decided that 26 acres that you're going to put in something large, that takes up another 8 megawatts, are we ready to do that? And so I just bring that to your mind as you're thinking about and, going into the future. Franchise, I know we have the franchise that was negotiated last year, and we want to continue to be that partner here with you as we go into the future. We focus on resiliency and again, you feel it from the gorge, what comes through in the ice and storm. We're looking at that all the time, but cybersecurity continues to be, concern for all of us. And, what wildfire and what that has done as well in the region. So we're going to continue to push those things. But some things have changed. I think I mentioned probably last time I was here, we were about to open up the 200 megawatt battery storage down here by the river. And it is up and it's operational. The good news is that you're about 8 megawatts. Troutdale is about 34 megawatts. This thing is 200 megawatts. So when there's issues in the region, as long as the lines from there to here are in good shape, that battery is going to come as a backup for you all as well. So just know that it's not just a kind of a regional thing, it's a local thing as well. So it's just to call that out. And we want to make sure, and again, if there's concerns, thoughts about, fire and protection and all those things, first responders, we want to make sure everybody's educated. Just like going in a substation, what do you do? We want people to know that about batteries. Again, we're going to continue to harden or changing out a lot of poles. A lot of our equipment that's old is being updated. And so, we're improving that as well. Prices. When I was here 9 months ago, we were, coming in and saying, we really have to change. You all had sent us letters and we're committing to that. And we're going to continue to commit to that we keep it under inflation. So that's what we're working on. We've already cut $25 million out of our expenses this year. Not easy. I mean, we're all feeling it, our budgets and how we have to continue to think about how do we drive down our costs. So we're going to continue to do that as we move into the future. I think, one of the bad news stories here of recent, we have the line item here, maximizing external sources of funding. We were just cut 3 of our grants from the Department of Energy. I don't know if you read about that or not, but one of them was, basically advancing ourselves to the next level of meters. We call it AMI 2.0. And think of, a meter kind of like your iPhone. We wanted to advance it so that you can get better information from it. You can do a lot more with it. And we can as well, and in terms of how we operate the system. But anyway, $50 million was taken from us. So as we go to replacing meters, it's going to take us longer. We're going to have to spend more ourselves over time to replace those. But that kind of thing that we, really is disruptive in our opinion. And it really feel like it's unfortunate that those grants are being taken away from us. So we'll keep working at it though. We want to find those external sources and try to keep, again, costs down and make it affordable. We do talk about customer assistance, and what I would say is that our enrollment in what we have for in assistance programs for either employee or customers who are fixed income or low income, we have quite a number in in your area, which is many across the Willamette Valley. But at the same time, it's great that it's there and it's available. And we want you to know that if, you've got somebody that you want to get assistance, please, call. You can even, again, drag Preston into that conversation if needed be. Wildfire prevention, we continue. We're getting better. The knowledge, whether it's our panel cameras and response times, you can see only 2% of our customers in all those 12 areas that are shown, they represent only 2% of our customers that are impacted in those high fire risk zones, and about 9% of our facilities. We've had 2 shutoffs since 2020. But we stand ready, and we just came out of fire season. Thank goodness. We appreciate the rain. But know that, we're spending a lot of time in education on wildfire. And here you can see, again, the cameras have been really helpful across the system, but we're hardening, thinking about steel poles, that sort of thing, undergrounding as well, doing a significant amount of undergrounding in those areas. In terms of energy and supply, you can see, we're currently operating at about 45% non-emitting in terms of our mix of generation to serve the area. With that, let me stop and open up for questions.
Question by the council.
I do have a few questions. Going back to that battery storage, that's so the solar panels, are those solar panels in the corner, or
I don't believe, well, yeah,
is
there
it
are a
fueled
few.
by
There are a
solar
few.
panels? I guess that's my question.
So they're actually fueled by anything we can bring in. So typically the wind in the gorge at
Oh, the little
night
wind
times, the wind turbines, et cetera, we can fuel them by that. It actually can be fueled by hydro if it's available. Any sort of source that's out there on the transmission. We bring a lot now from the desert Southwest, comes up from Arizona, California, and we'll use that at times because they'll have negative pricing at times and they'll be trying to pay us to take it. So we'll stick it in the battery and hold it till the next day. Peak might be between noon and 7 in the evening. So we'll use it in that way.
Okay. Okay.
So it's shifting in and out of the batteries on a regular basis, but whatever is available at the time, that's lowest cost. And that's what benefits us all because we can use the low cost. Usually electricity is traveling at the speed of light.
Right.
We haven't had a place to store it other than hydro. And that's only based on snow and the wind or snow and the rain, et cetera. So it's really nice to have batteries to be able to store energy.
Okay. And this is at one of our sites locally, or is this an
Right.
example?
Right out of Troutdale here.
Oh.
So it is down by the river.
Oh, okay. And those are all batteries, those white things?
Yeah, they look like,
Shipping
boxcar.
containers.
Yeah.
And then my second question, thank you for answering that, was with the customer assistance with their bills. Is that something that's easy for them to access? Like, do they have to pick up the phone and actually call someone, or is it like a portal that they could
They
go?
can go on the website and access that as well. I would say probably 90% of them just pick up the phone and call,
Mhm.
but yes, they can do it through website and access it easily as well.
Yeah, I think when you log in, like if you've got a PGE account and you log into your account, there's some options off to the side where you can apply.
Kind of piggyback question off that. So Wood Village is close to 49% Hispanic, about 52% speak a different language. Do you guys offer assistance in those languages that can help them better, navigate your guys' portals and systems?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say how many different
I think there's
languages.
200 available.
Yeah.
When they 15, I think there's 15 languages that have the actual information flyers that we hand out. But when they pick up the phone and call, I think there's over 200.
Awesome. The other thing for us, I think education is a huge thing into our community, and our community, as you mentioned, is a square mile. And so we feel a good approach that the city has done has been in-person events. And so is that something you guys are available for us to kind of contact and say, hey, we have, this community event, I think this information, as much as you guys are able to get them out to community members, again, in person is always our best kind of go-to method. Is that something you guys are open to and available for?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of those great ones. We love to have those connections, and so we appreciate it.
And-
Again, call Preston.
The sooner
We'll
you
get
can
here.
get in front of us, I think the better, especially for the night out. And
Yeah.
those types of events, whether it's income qualified programming that we could just wildfire prevention, just think whatever you guys want us to talk about in those settings, or just to be present, depending on what the community wants. It's on our radar.
Awesome. Great. Lastly, something, we're trying to figure out in partnership with either the Reynolds High School or like the Mount Hood Community College is trade opportunities. We have a lot of, individuals here that typically go right into the workforce. And so I think some type of opportunity like that would be amazing. So seeing if we can, as a city, figure out how to help you guys elevate some of these things more regional out this way would be something, I think for sure interest of me, but I think it'd be something real positive that we can work towards.
No, appreciate that. And it seemed like Reynolds High School do they still have their trades program?
Some.
Some.
It's a little weaker, I think, than it has been, but more robust than other times. I think they're trying to build it back, and certainly there's at the college some interest in some of these areas. So I think that's just where getting the right people from your team and others, talking with the right people from those teams, and how do you build up, train, promote, and just let whether it's young adults getting out of high school or people looking to reenter or change in the workforce, how do they know about these opportunities, where to get the training, what programs do you offer, all the kind of the whole spectrum.
No, I encourage that. Love to see us move back to that. Right before COVID, we had, it seemed to be going really well. We had IBEW 125 and 49 together with all hands raised going in. We'd take teachers and have them go to those trade locations and hear, again, what people can make in terms of, like how to get the education, how to get a journeyman's certificate, and then what do those jobs pay? And it's astonishing, and again, high school education, get them started there. And boy, we would have the hard hat celebrations, which it's kind of like, we always have the scholarships for college because there's this stigmatism that, you're going in the trades, so you can't be as good as somebody going to college. Well, wait a minute, time out. That person walking out of the trades doesn't have today probably $200,000 in debt, as they walk out. But they obviously have a job that's really highly qualified, skilled, and then usually the company that hired them will pay for their college. So if they want to go back. So I encourage, I love hearing it, Mayor, and would love to see us, connect back, hopefully get that going again, because we need the workforce. We are short ourselves. And I know that's true across all the trades right now.
We need the good jobs and you need the workers.
We may be the lineman's rodeo out in Gresham as well. That could be an entry point. First time people see or hear jobs that exist in our Gresham's on the east side, so it's close by. Could be another.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, I think that's something
In July usually.
Yeah, we just had it 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
4 weeks ago.
that'd be great if we can at least get that flyer to share it with our residents.
But getting into high school and the college, absolutely. It's I'm always stunned at now again, not everybody wants to work outside. Not everybody wants to work in that sort of condition / with equipment, et cetera. But know that it's important. And, but there are a lot of people that love doing that work.
Well, thank you all so much. We'll look forward to keeping in touch, and we'll make sure to get you guys those dates. And then if you guys can share that information with us, that'd be great.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll go ahead and move to master fee schedule update, utility rate with our good Seth.
The good stuff.
The good Seth.
The bad.
There's the
stuff.
bad
Oh,
Seth.
everyone's laughing.
Okay, let me just pull up the presentation. There we go. All right, thank you, Mayor, councilors. First item on your agenda tonight from me is a resolution updating our master fee schedule to reflect cost of living adjustments for our water and wastewater rates. So just a little background. We went through a process starting in 2022 where we did a system development charge and a utility modeling process with our consultant, Steve Donovan. Brought to council a number of different options for making changes to the code and the methodologies, adopted the SDC methodology, and then we adopted a new utility rate methodology in October of 2024. That went into effect January 1st, 2025. And that's where we eliminated the base charge that was included in water and pushed more of the cost. So lowered the base charge, made the variable cost higher so that the average person wouldn't see much of a difference, but it incentivized people. If you use less water, you would pay less, because we had a good third of our single family residential who use 4 units of water or less a month. And so whether they use 2 units or 4, they paid the same. And so part of the feedback we got from our residents was, especially those who were in financial need, was how do I reduce my water bill if I'm already at the minimum, and there wasn't an option for them. We also made a variable cost for sewer, because before for residential, it was just a flat fee regardless of how much water you used and put into the sewer system. And we also implemented winter averaging, which started in January. So that was where we took the average use during average water use when you're not watering your lawn, and people pay either the lower of what they actually used or that. The other big change that we made was we had a senior discount that was built into the rates as a way to help folks out who are struggling. It wasn't means tested, and so someone could have a retirement income of $1 million a year and they get a lower rate. And so what we did was we changed that so that we combined that with our existing utility assistance program and made it means tested so that it's income based rather than just a blanket. And it wasn't even age based, it was if you have retirement income. So if you retired young and lavishly in Wood Village, you got a lower rate. So that was the background of kind of the last time we did this. Fortunately, we're not going to be doing anything super complicated, but I did want to give you kind of an update of kind of how the programs have been going since we last checked in with you. So this is a good summary of how we changed the structure as of January 1st, 2025. As you can see, the average usage that we have for our single family residential is about 6 units a month. So under the old rate structure, they paid about $100 for water and sewer. They would be paying $95. But you really saw differences. If you used half as much water under the old system, you saw $4 a month savings, even though you're using half the water. The changes that were made that a much more drastic drop. And on the other end, if you're using twice as much water, you weren't paying twice as much, but it was significantly more than under the old methodology. And again, the idea was the people who use the most, put this biggest strain on our water and sewer system, should be paying more than the people who are using less. So you use more, you pay more, you use less, you pay less. So how are we doing? So we did some modeling. We tried to figure out
what our rates were. And again, the objective when we set the rates was to try and make it so that we weren't trying to get more money or less money. We were just trying to change some of the incentives and how people paid. So we reviewed utility bills through the first 9 months of this year, January through September, and we ran kind of the same usage under both the old methodology and the new. And we were within about a 1% in water and sewer with what revenues we would have had under the old methodology versus those we were collecting. So that part, I was relieved because we were a little bit worried that if we incentivized people to use less, they would use a lot less and we would have less money and therefore we would be able to pay our wonderful public works staff. But as of right now, it looks like we're doing pretty well. That includes an entire summer and part of a winter averaging season. And we looked at, did we have a really dry or wet summer? Because we have a really dry summer, we saw a lot of water. It could look really good even if we didn't set the rates right. So we looked at the summer rainfall. It was within 0.2 of an inch of our 10-year average, and the temperature. Typically for water utilities, it's not the average temperature, it's how many hot days you have. You get really hot days in a row because you get 1 or 2 100-degree days here versus like a solid week to 10 days of 100 degrees. And that really is when people start hitting the water system up hard. So it was a pretty average summer. So we're fairly confident that we didn't get a big bump just because we had a dry summer. So. And then on the Senior Utility Assistance Program, we've had 7 participants so far this year who have taken us up on the extra senior application. So the other thing I will mention is when we switched to the usage and the billing, we got a lot of folks that were taking a closer look at their bill, and we were able to have a lot more people take advantage of the leak detection program and find leaks that they didn't necessarily see. And a big part of that was, our utility clerk, Chelsea, and the work that she does, but it was also, we've just finished switching out all the registers for the radio reads, and those collect data on a hourly or every 10 minutes, very fine level of detail. So when we had a leak, we would send the crew out, do a read, and we could tell people when that usage started. And so that was helpful for them to try and find the leak, especially some of the small leaks that you don't necessarily, it's not coming out your faucet or your toilet isn't running, then sometimes it's hard to find those. So that was one of the side benefits of doing the program. So that's the recap of how we've done so far. Things on both the revenue side and the customer satisfaction side seem to be going how we thought they were and seem to be going pretty good. So we're very glad that we didn't have the wheels didn't come off and the engine didn't blow up when we made the change. So that's the summary of the changes, what we have in front of you tonight. As you all know, we have cost drivers for salary, materials, the chlorine that we buy, the contractors that we use. So we have been indexing our utility rates to the cost of living adjustment. I'm sorry, you can't see this. Put the title in the wrong spot. There we go. The Consumer Price Index Urban Non-Seasonally Adjusted Average is what we use for our union contract. And it's also what we use for adjusting our utility rates. So last year it was 3.1%, and this year it's 3.0%. And so what we're proposing doing is increasing the water, sewer, street and stormwater fees by 3% effective January 1st, 2026. Sewer had been being increased by an additional 4% as we were looking at a major replacement for the sewer trunk line that runs along Parshall underneath the byway and dumps into Fairview, where we send all of our sewage to be then sent to Gresham to be treated.
Right.
We're not recommending that this year because we are, as you might know from the budget program, we've budgeted money for an inflow and infiltration project to go around and try and seal some of the great work that Becky did looking at rain events after we had been monitoring partial so that we were getting an inch of rain or more, we were getting 1 million gallons of additional sewage, which is a lot that we're sending to Gresham treatment. So we're trying to go through the system and patch up where we can, hopefully get that number down. And then after we get enough data after we do that project and get enough data, we'll reevaluate right sizing, whether or not we need to replace that trunk line and what size we would need. So I think we had 2 years of an additional 4% increase. That helped us get in the sewer in a better financial state, and it also mitigated some of the increases we were getting from Gresham on the treatment side, where their treatment costs rose 7% a year for 4 straight years. So the long and short of it is, once we know what we're doing with partial, then we will kind of be able to right size our rates, but we don't want to not continue to increase them by inflation until we know, because we want to try the idea with doing a gradual rate increase of a certain percent over a longer term, because we would avoid price shock of having to do a 15 or 20% increase and people having a shock on their bill. So hopefully either next year or the year after, we'll be able to take a look at the financial condition of sewer and know what's happening on the partial project and kind of right size what we need to maintain the fund balance targets that we have and you guys set as policy. So that's how we got to the proposed increase. That's why we're not recommending a 4% additional increase for sewer this year, as we had talked about doing. Feel like I've talked really fast and all at once. Questions or discussion on the item?
Question by the council?
Oh, I have the question.
I have a question. Can you go back to the examples of the current rate and the proposed rate? Because what I have here is different numbers.
Yeah, and this was an example of what we presented last year, just to show the difference, apples to apples difference in the rate methodology for the bills. What's included in the staff report is what will be affected. So
Because it looks significantly different. Like
Yeah.
this is only a few dollars and this is a lot more. That's why I wanted.
So the example bill, the proposed rate structure is what we were proposing for January 1, 2025. What you have in your packet is what the proposal is for January 1, 2026.
Oh, okay.
That's the difference. And sorry, I didn't explain that when I was doing all that talking.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I am appreciative of staff because we had one of those increase in our bills and they did reach out and said, hey, it looks oddly unnormal. Is this about right? And we said, yes, we were watering our lawn significantly a lot over the summer. So
I think someone reached out to me, but I put water in the pool.
So I mean, I think again, it's what you changed is working. So
Yeah.
I think it's really in line with what we were hoping to do. And so I'm grateful for not doing an additional 4% on the on the sewer, but understanding that we've built some capital there as well. So
Yeah.
All right, with no further questions, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution 24-2025, updating the master fee schedule, including adjusting the water, sewer, and street utility fees.
I'll second it.
There's a first and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll go ahead and move to resolution 25-2025 personnel manual update with Greg.
Not the good Greg?
Oh, Greg, you're just, there's no good or bad.
Uh-huh.
Your other sayings?
Okay.
Got to keep you guys on the toes.
So yes, the second resolution of the evening and the last one. So this is updating the personnel manual to reflect the paid leave Oregon program. So a little bit of quick background. So while the city as an organization actually is covered under Federal Medical Leave Act, it's a 12-week protected leave, unpaid, employees actually aren't eligible for either FMLA or the state's OFLA, Oregon Family Leave Act programs because we're under 25 employees. That said, we've always offered a 12-week medical leave program where people can use accrued leaves, whether it's sick, comp time, vacation, et cetera, that in most cases mirrored FMLA, OFLA. Plus, they got rid of some of the oddities where there's some overlap, where they don't run concurrent, and you can stack. It was essentially a pretty simple 12-week protected leave program. In 2019, the state passed House Bill 2005, which created actually a 12-week paid sick health leave program. Then it took a few years for them to start collecting the revenues for how it was going to work. So it actually started September of 2023. I want to get very clear. We were following the program on its implementation date, promoting it, advertising, do all the legally required components. And it is administrated by the Oregon Employment Department. So we don't admin it. We'd help provide forms and provide follow-up when we got requests for information, but it's admin by the state. And we've been following it. I want to make that very, very clear. We haven't ignored it for a couple of years. What did happen was, so we had a personnel manual with our general leave program. It was a couple pages. You saw it in your packet there. And we actually had a question. It's CIS, City County Insurance Services. So they actually are our insurance provider, also do a lot of pre-loss work, great, wonderful organizations run by cities, for cities. We had a question kind of on an extended leave and how that may actually interact with an accommodation potential request. And they said, well, what's your leave policy? We gave it to them like, you should probably update this. Even though you've been following and doing all the right things with paid leave, you should really just clear all that out and just adopt kind of the model paid leave program, because it's going to do two things. One, be very explicit that you're following it. Two, it reduces any kind of confusion about what leave am I getting? Am I getting paid leave and then this other medical leave? Or it just streamlined everything. So that's what you see in your packet. Basically, that's the model personnel policy language. And there's a few things that were discretionary of what leave banks could be used when, if they so choose to cover the difference what paid leave may pay versus their regular pay. A couple of things about how their portion of healthcare is covered, things like that, where we did our best to essentially match current program for those discretionary pieces. State law requires use of paid leave or an improved, equally equivalent or better program. I'm assuming we don't want to create something brand new and go through that whole process. So we've been following Paid Leave Oregon. So that's what's in the personnel manual. Really quick, but it is kind of a really quick, it was more of a cleanup provision because we've been doing all the right things, following the law. But this just cleans up the personnel manual. So happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments by the council?
So we've updated our verbiage to make sure it's not confusing with the leave, the Oregon state leave.
So it all is the state leave.
So then they wouldn't get additional paid leave through our.
So how it would work,
Right.
let's just say, because we've had a few people use it here and there. Employee gets, I'll say, injured off the job.
Mhm.
And they can't come back to work for a while. So here's the forms, fill it out, it's online. Sometimes we get requests for it, sometimes we don't. Paid leave pays what it pays based on that formula. So then an employee could say that doesn't quite make up what I take home. So they can, at their discretion, use their accrued leave times to make up that difference through a duration.
Okay.
Also use their accrued leaves to pay their portion of the employee share of health care costs. And then at the end, let's just say they need 13 weeks, but the program's 12. It becomes then a conversation both in terms of, can they return to work? Do they need to do more of a doctor? I mean, obviously, if they're injured, a doctor's return to work notice to make sure that they're able to return to that work. Or do we do, I can return to work, but kind of on maybe a limited capacity. So it's more of an ADA reasonable accommodation discussion. But let's just say it's a little more simple and it's a birth or adoption of a new child, and I'm going to take my 12 weeks and then I'm coming back on week 13. I mean, it's not a lot of discussion thereafter, other than making sure that the work schedule works and they're happy. But generally, it's just the 12 weeks. There are some circumstances through a reasonable accommodation, the ADA Act, where we may need to have additional conversations and have, doctor sign-offs and I won't say physicals, but essentially fit for duty assessment.
Thank you. I was just, I've had a couple of my employees use state leave, and it's very streamlined.
It seems
It's
better
quick.
now than when it first started.
Most definitely, when it first started, I don't think anyone knew what was going on. And then the gap between communicating that with the employer, there was a huge gap.
Yeah.
With that. So it's come a long
It's
way.
much better now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people
I
are
think
getting
also from
paid
like an
a lot quicker,
employee
too.
end, it's a lot better because that's something they could ask us. Like, we don't know. We don't admin. It doesn't feel good to say that.
Yeah, it doesn't, but the state's paying for it, so.
Well, actually, employees are paying for it with the payroll tax. And because of,
Oh.
again, our
They
small
don't see
employee
it.
size, there's not an employer tax on it. So we pay it.
Yes. I was just thinking like in their perspective, they don't see it like
Yeah.
that. They're getting their money.
It's a pool.
Yes, yeah, it comes around.
All right, with no further questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 25-2025, updating the personnel manual to reflect the paid leave Oregon program.
I second.
First and second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, now we'll go and get into the fun stuff. Discussion of fire update. With
Talking
the
about
good old Greg.
fire. Good old Greg.
Good fun, old Greg.
Right.
And fires.
That's an oxymoron.
So the presentation may look bland, but I assure you it's rich with content. So several updates for you. So I want to talk a little about District 10's recent finance formed. Quick update on the Forest City Regional Task Force. And then some updates what we've been doing for our community outreach and plan to do for some outreach. And then we have some, I'll call it initial terms, concepts for this extension while we're navigating the larger question of what are we doing as a region. So for District 10, one of the first things Gresham asked as part of the, hey, let's, as Forest Cities, do this, because there's been so much interest and conversation around District 10 and its financial ability to do this. Gresham said, District 10, you need to do some base level analyses so we know how close we are or aren't with this. So District 10 hired Tiberius Solutions, if that name sounds familiar. It's the same firm the three cities used for our compression analysis several months ago. So again, it was a base financial feasibility being a regional service provider. They developed, I believe it was 9 scenarios, but presented 3 at a recent Gresham Council meeting. I want to just kind of pause here and just say there are several assumptions done with this that may or may not be based in a kind of reality that may need more refining, research, one of which is operational costs, so the expense side of the equation. It seems like District 10 used current expense allocations from Gresham and just indexed those. Not saying that was good or bad, it's just that's how they didn't really develop how we as District 10 could or would run it. They just took how it's been done or doing and then indexed it. They indexed that based on expense growth of either 3%, 4%, or 5%. Not a bad range generally. Gresham has experienced about a 7.3 10-year average. So again, if you're kind of using, we don't know how or why Gresham's having a 7.3% increase, and not here to judge or debate that today. It also seems a little odd then if you're not saying how you're going to operate it to use 3%, 4%, or 5%. So there's some additional question marks there. For assessed value growth, that was basically how much more revenue will come out of new development, redevelopment, et cetera. And in the presentation, they presented a 3.4 or average, but on the lower end, I think, for the region, all up to 4.4, which is very optimistic, maybe a little too rosy. And then the other thing that they did, which is a little odd. So when the three cities did our analysis, we said, go ahead and offset our tax collection, so not a permanent rate, but just what we would levy by $1 for the first year, increase it 20 cents for the next 5 years. And that kind of reduces impacts to compression for both us and a fire entity. It also, I think, at least for Wood Village, reflects the city's historical contributions towards fire service, lessening direct financial impacts to property owners. What District 10 did, at least in the scenarios that were presented, was a full 285 offset from the cities forever. So a little odd. So what did that do? So what I would say, in the rosiest of scenarios, where we're getting exceptional growth at 4.4 and cost containment at 3%, it actually works. There's a bit of a few first year deficits as they take on some additional liabilities, PERS, et cetera. But as you see, they collect more revenue than expenses, and actually over time can levy less than their rate of 285. So that scenario works. That scenario, again, also kind of based on some very rosy assumptions, and then has that 285 piece, which is the next one, which I think it's close to a reasonable reality. It's still, fairly aggressive at 3.9, but 3.7, 3. It's not unreasonable. It'd be great, kind of cost containment around 4.5%. So we're in the neighborhood that the ballpark lives in. And you can see over here with this deficit, it keeps growing. It doesn't work. But again, that was based off of, looking at, I believe it was this kind of current cost of service, indexing it by that 4%. So there could be something about how the service is being provided could change that, but that's not what the analysis looked at. And where it's maybe a little more pessimistic growth, maybe a little higher on the service, it just gets worse. I mean, that's the whole, we don't need to dwell on that. But if you get some of those outline years where things stall out and there's maybe a new collective bargaining agreement, you could see there's substantial impacts. What does all this mean? It simply means District 10 is not necessarily the magic wand I think some thought or hoped it would be. And that there's certainly a number of things that can be refined, reworked, explored to better answer that question. But at least at a first blush, high level look, it's challenging. That was the other thing, that those expenses were all based on the current station of 6 1/3 stations, not the 8 1/3 that I think we all can agree is what's needed for our region, is like a realistic base level. It'd be nice to have more, but 2 more stations seems realistic. So all those numbers are based on a 6 1/3, not 8 1/3. So again, more work to do, which is great fodder for the task force. So again, the task force is made up of representatives from the 4 cities. So it's the mayor and a council representative. In this case, it is Council President Tan. You have the city managers, a representative from District 10, and you have representative from the fire union and the Gresham Fire Chief Menard. So together, we're going to meet. First meeting is November 6th. And my hope is actually start having this conversation of what do we need and who can provide it. Obviously, there's more work to do about District 10, and hopefully is talked about and what specifically is needed, and get that work underway. It also seems like there's maybe some big obstacles with District 10, and how else can we get the service? There is, I'm not going to say a standing offer, but there's been an offer from Clackamas One. What does that mean? What does that look like? Some say it doesn't work, some say it might, so let's prove that. Let's just prove whether it doesn't work or does work, and why. I think that's another exercise for the task force to take on. So you've got District 10, what can be refined there? I say what's right and what's wrong about District 1. And then what's the time frame we need to do this in? Because as I'll get on to the extension thing, I would have liked to believe we can sort this out over the next few years. We don't have a few years. I don't mean to laugh as it can get very startling very quickly about the resource going to this essential service and how to best leverage that resource for the best quality service we have. And by quality, I don't mean because the firefighters at Gresham aren't doing a good job. We know there's needs though, and how we're going to get those needs met sooner than later with these increased dollars. So before I get to the extension, we need to have these conversations with our community members so they're informed and generally know what may be ahead of them. So we know we most likely have interim funding needs as we work towards a regional solution, which is most likely a district. So it's also why that's important. We've been doing this through our newsletter, social media, and website. If you saw in the weekly update, we've re-updated kind of the fire messaging on our website. So it says top 5 things you need to know. It's very streamlined, very clean, with additional information, actually a lot of information for those who want to keep clicking and keep reading. But we think this is very digestible to the key facts and factors that we're facing right now. At the night out, we had fire headquarters where we did a lot of the AP Triton report information and kind of the system needs. Now at Pumpkin Fest, we're still talking about system needs, but also kind of those 5 things you need to know. And it ranges everything from why fire is important, why a fire district makes sense, and what that might cost. We know there's a funding gap. We don't know exactly what it'll cost yet. We know there's a gap. And so to help have that conversation, we're having some community town halls November 13th and 17th. So the 13th is, obviously everyone's invited to both. The 17th reserved for Spanish speakers. We're having to actually presented in Spanish. We've brought on a trusted community partner that can do that work. Staff will be there to support, but it's being presented all in Spanish. November 13th is community at large. You'll hear me talk. To help with that, you probably saw an email today for a meeting on the 23rd, calling that like a first look preview meeting where we give the presentation that we plan to give the community, have kind of the materials out for that open house portion, and just get everyone, it's council, boards, and commissions. Get your take on it. What did we get right? What could be tweaked? What more do you think our community members will want out of this? And so it's again open to the public. We're inviting our council, boards, and commissioners to it to really get your feedback in advance of that November 13th, so it can be as good as possible to get that early information out. So it really is going to cover what the fire service is and isn't, a little bit about why we've seen some cost increases and the additional need, touching on property taxes, how they work, how they function, because what we've seen from other community meetings, there's a lot of confusion about assessed value, market value, and just clarifying what goes where. And then that look forward, which will most likely include at least more conversations around a potential levy in May. There's some pathways that maybe we don't have to do that, but we won't really know until that first task force. We need to see where our other city friends are and aren't at and what timelines they may be thinking about. But we want to be prepared, as we will probably have those conversations about the need of a levy. Don't want our community members surprised about that and let them know why we're having those conversations. And ultimately, they are the decision maker in it. Levies go to a public vote. Okay, let's talk about then how we're going to continue fire and emergency services while we're all working together on this regional solution. Just kind of latter part of last week, got some initial thoughts out of Gresham. It comes at a price, a lot of based on, their costs. They have a 10-year 7.3 average. They're looking for essentially a 7% annual increase with a 10% on year one, because there's, again, big increases this fiscal year. For a year or two, is that a problem? 5 years. So last fiscal year, we paid just over $5.5 million for this service. If we go through all 5 years of a contract extension, the end will be $1.15 million. So in 6 years, going, it's $600,000 more dollars. And I'm not saying anything wrong with Gresham's numbers. It's hard for anyone us Gresham Troutdale, 7.3 is a hard number to live on for multiple years. I think the impetus is how do we pivot to something different and cost containment sooner than later. That really needs to be what we're focused on. And so there's a lot more to come with this. I think my hope was that, hey, this is, reasonably affordable. Yeah, we can move on with the extension and play this out for several years. I think everyone's concerned about this. I think Gresham's concerned about this. I think, when they sat down and saw the numbers, it's how can we keep affording this? Because even their levy expires, in 3 or so years. So, there's going to be a lot of pressure on everyone to find a solution that our communities are willing to support. So again, just still a lot to come with this, and I hope to be able to present more at your next council meeting of where this may lead, how maybe that we can shift or adapt this. And then again, we've got the task force on November 6th. So hopefully that will provide more clarity around the collective sense of urgency to find a solution to this problem. So again, open house preview meeting, the 23rd. Hopefully you can make it. If you can't, that's okay. Task force meeting on the 6th. So we'll report out at your council meeting on the 18th. But then we've got our community meetings on the 13th and 17th. So we'll also report back on findings from that. So what questions do you have?
I know it's a lot, but yes.
Been a busy couple of weeks.
What questions does council have?
Mine's a simple question. Can I get the times about all these? 23rd's time.
23rd, yeah, so that's, and then the 6th, I want to say it's 3:30. I believe there's going to be a virtual option for that. And then same with the 13th and 17th is also, I think, 6 p.m.
6th, the 23rd, 3:30, the 6th, and then the 13th and 17th are at 6 p.m.
Correct.
Okay.
And the 13th will be held here. We're not quite sure yet on the 17th if we're going to go on a little road show or if it will be held here. That's still kind of TBD. Again, working with some trusted partners on what would be meaningful and acceptable.
I just want to mention, this is not what we were expecting on the extension of the contract. We were hoping for something more on the lower end. But as Greg mentioned, it's really eye-opening, and hopefully our partners can see the need to ensure that, we're moving on this at a rate that we're not stalling and prolonging the inevitable here. And it is that a district is the right model. I think our hope in that first meeting, which not sure how well it will go, is to really focus on the current cost, and we can't ignore the offer at least the 3 cities have already received. That is information, and it's not just like something that someone just pulled out. It's actual numbers that we've received, and at this rate, it comes into play to say we have to look at this one way or another. As much as other parties might not like to entertain that option, it's something we can't ignore.
Being the new kid on the block, are all of the cities at different renewal times?
No. So a little bit of background. So the 3 cities have been contracting with Gresham since 1995, since we left District 10. And the 3 cities had one master agreement. So we've all had the same terms. The first few years was I think a couple of 3-year terms, and then they became 10-year terms. Our latest 10-year term expired this past June 30, and it had looked like the 3 cities were going to take the offer from Clackamas District 1 to essentially contract first, move towards some sort of annexation consideration. that got a lot of people's attention and kind of reframed the discussion. And we were able to come back to the table, work out a 1-year extension with Gresham to buy more time to kind of continue these conversations. And they've been positive and healthy conversations. It's only a 1-year agreement though. So we kind of need some sort of pathway towards a regional solution, because Gresham has said we need a regional solution. Like I said, it's not really working for them either. So it might be possible, as the mayor said, just as much as we can't ignore District 10 and answer some of those unanswered questions, we also shouldn't ignore District 1. And whether, again, fine, what doesn't work about it, and let's run that. And it's like, yeah, maybe it doesn't work, at least answers the question more definitively. And I think that's not an unreasonable exercise to run it down. It may also be that, let's just say District 1 is somewhat viable. I don't want to predispose any thoughts on that. District 10 or 1, we'll go that route. It's possible then to start contracting for service before actual annexation. And then the annexation votes could be done at different times, but most likely it'd be a very similar timeframe for contracting for service, because the 3 cities don't have the infrastructure, the people that Gresham does. So annexation becomes more complicated. Going to contract for service is not that it's easy, but it's more simplified than an annexation. So it could be that all 4 entities start contracting, and just seeing how that does or doesn't work, assuming it works with, again, whichever agency. The 3 cities might be able to move forward more on an annexation vote faster than Gresham, just because of the additional considerations around assets and liabilities that Gresham has, and how do those transfer or not transfer over to the receiving entity. To say it's possible to have a discussion on what does a brand new district look like, that seemed more probable to have that conversation before we really saw like what extending this contract looks like. And that's for all parties. I don't think any 4 cities can really afford over the next 5 years 7% increases in the cost for this service. And so again, maybe a new district would be pie in the sky great. Do we have the 3 to 5 years it would take to create that, stand it up, transition? I don't think we do. And at least with 2 other potential viable options, District 10 and District 1, it seems prudent to really run those to the ground, and what are the positives, negatives, how are things either mitigated or complicated?
So if you went District 1, where's the closest firehouse?
So that's part of the conversation too, is under. So again, right now we're served by 6 1/3 stations, the closest being 75 in Troutdale, 74, about
94th.
Yeah, 94th in Halsey. Then there's 71 up at Gresham City Hall. Whether it's Gresham or Clackamas, both see a value in an additional station on that Wood Village Fairview border. Figure draw a circle, 223rd at Halsey, somewhere in a circle around that. Benefits the entire system. So if something miraculous happens and all 4 cities are like, let's contract first with District 10. Maybe this is 18 months from now, or District 1, I mean. District 1 would still serve all the stations that currently exist under that scenario. And ideally, then we're standing up, if not, some sort of temporary station at first within that circle need area, moving towards a longer term permanent station. I think we're still having conversations with Gresham right now, even through this extension. How can we get something in that general vicinity? And we will have maps at both the Pumpkin Fest and at our town hall that show the power of a station there. It not only reduces response travel times to our city in Fairview, it increases the reliability of those 3 stations I mentioned, 75, 74, and 71, because they're not having to travel all the way out here to cover those calls. So you're helping the whole system by adding a station here that really helps us, and has been needed for a long time. So if we're to, contract with Clackamas, it really matters how that was done, because if we're in a situation we were last April where there's more of a tenuous relationship, there could be some struggles with that. If it's through this cooperative, we've run down concerns, we've addressed concerns, and everyone's willing to try it, it could work really well. Similarly with 10, if 10 says we can add a temp station here, and again, we've run that aground and answer those unknowns, that could work as well. So again, I'm not trying to predispose District 1 is the answer. It's a potential answer that I think we continue to explore, just as we will with 10.
I think as we continue these conversations, at least, conversations I've had with other mayors is we can't ignore the fact that we need additional stations. So the current level of service, as it is a baseline, that can't be our only conversation of saying this is our service model. There's 2 additional stations within right now the service area that Gresham serves. One, as Greg mentioned, and then another one on the southern border of this of the city of Gresham. And so I think that's also a big component of why Gresham's looking at, that they can't maintain the cost of what the service is. And so as District 10 has only done a cost analysis of what the current system is, those 2 stations can no longer be ignored because, at least a scenario has been put out there of those additional stations and what that would do to the system we have. And so I think that's also a piece to that. And so as we're looking to continue these conversations, I mean, it's no longer the 6 1/3 station of a conversation. It has to be the 8 1/3 conversation.
And that actually came from when Gresham was talking about this last week. Gresham Mayor Stovall actually said we should stop talking that as this, North Star thing. It's like, this should be what we should have this in several years. Like, this isn't a pie in the sky dream. We need 8 stations. So that was, again, we're getting on the same page. We're having good conversations. It's also hard, I think, again, for everyone when you're facing 7% annual increases. And so that just really puts the impetus on how do we do this right in a short time frame.
And as it is only a temporary station, I mean, the conversation should also continue of like, is this the permanent site for the one at least we potentially get here? And I think that's kind of our emphasis on this whole thing is, continuing that discussion of saying we can't have this discussion if this is not included within whatever and whoever is serving us moving forward. So.
And again, just to mention it, a big consideration is, and what we've heard is the firefighters here take a lot of pride and value in serving here, and that needs protected in these conversations. I just want to make that very clear. We've talked a lot about the financial side and, maybe some operations of stations, the firefighters have their considerations that are part of this too. So, but again, hopefully a lot of that can come out on the 6th, and we, we won't have answers on the 6th, but at least, where's the roadmap taking us? Did that answer your question? Yep. I mean, you got a lot to come up on here, but.
And I think the other thing is that, looking at the current proposal, as Greg continues to mention, the 7.3% is really unsustainable for anybody. And so our hope is that we can come to a point where we look at maybe, understanding maybe the first couple of years it is at this higher rate. And then after that is, we lessen that, but to really put the emphasis of don't take your foot off the pedal. Like, I mean, we can't slow down in any portion of this, because of now. I mean, you know, we're October, so 3 months into this new contract, but I mean, we're basically, this fiscal year is basically done. I mean, we have to look. I'm sorry, I mean, but yes, really rounding up.
Okay.
We're definitely, I mean, we kind of have to start having that forward mind thinking. Because again, time will fly. I remember when we did this in April and look at where we're at now. And so it's coming quick.
But I think, again, we're having good conversations and honest conversations as a region, and that's a positive,
Yeah.
and that also has value.
Yeah. And that hasn't happened in, I think, ever. So at least we're in a great position now. So
Else.
any other questions?
Okay.
Again, these coming up meetings are going to be, if not as important, more important, just because again, it's an opportunity for us to start engaging with our community and getting in front of the ball, and answering as many questions, or at least gathering all those questions prior to then come back to our community with answers, because we truly can't do this by ourselves. We are going to need our community support, you know, whether some agree with it or not. I mean, I think the information in front of them is telling. You know, this is not something we're just coming up with and saying, well, we just want extra money. We truly are looking at the best solution to ensure that we are able to still provide a necessary service to our community.
And that's, yeah, so we'll have Pumpkin Fest, we'll have postcards for the upcoming meetings there. They'll be big in the newsletter in November there. So, and just Mayor, on your point, it's hard to feel good about asking the community for more money. To say there's no winning in this, it feels like there's no winning in this. So the win is getting everyone the best service we can get with that resource. Yep. And that does mean some more resource, because there isn't a value service to buy anymore. For 30 years, we got a value rate with Gresham, essentially paying the marginal cost. That doesn't exist anywhere. And there really isn't another way to replicate that. Yeah. But it doesn't feel like a win. Just to put it very bluntly, we know our community, you know the community. Every dollar matters.
All right. Well, thank you all for that discussion there. Now we'll go ahead and move to council retreat facilitation discussion with Greg.
And not surprising, it's all about fire. So I did change up. Usually I just yell retreat, but I call it the Village Vision for the upcoming year.
Good, Greg.
Good, Greg.
And just a little bit of background of what a council retreat is, in case new people from, we have a new person on our council, so I'll go through the quick background. Basically, it's a time outside of a council meeting. It's really a public meeting, but typically an all-day affair where we talk about the budget, projects, projections, master plans, all the stuff that we do. A piece of it can be about team building or team training, communication, and just a time to really build the trust between council and your staff, and getting to know each other, and what are our priorities and visions for our community. A few things for discussion tonight, really not so much on location. We've really settled on this is our home for the retreat, but there's one question about that. We'll go over what staff thinks is the agenda, but we want to hear from you, facilitation, and then some date options. So again, years past, we've gone off-site because of city halls were intriguing during some years. This is a great space. Did want to get your thoughts on a live stream. It's state law requires it when practical for a retreat, because we're not in this configuration. We're seated, we're up, we're moving. You'd always be having to pass a microphone. Discussions get lost. It doesn't seem very practical, but also wanted to get your take on that.
No,
I prefer not to.
no, absolutely.
Okay, and now that's on the record of not practical, so we should be good legal wise,
Yes.
correct, Jeff?
Yep.
All right, there we
All the
go.
boxes? Okay, perfect.
For this year's agenda, it actually proposed agenda. looks very similar to last year's, which was heavily fire focused. But it's always good to recap accomplishments and opportunities from the current year and years ahead. Take a quick look at that mission, model, values, and goals. And like last year, it really is fire and EMS. We would have by this time had a couple of those community meetings, maybe some secondary polling, or should have secondary polling, and really know, at least from the task force perspective, what July 1 of 26 looks like, at least is reasonable. Is this going to be a 3 to 5 year process, or is this a 12 to 18 month process? And that's going to then impact, the discussion of the levy, the rate, the process, how we want to develop our budget. If there is a levy need, do we build that in as presumed revenues? Do we not? All these things need to be discussed. There's also potential for legislative opportunities around fire and EMS that have real cost and service impacts, and we could touch on those since we'd be going right into the short session. Don't want the whole day to be consumed by fire, pun intended. So instead of really going, I'm here all night, through all the master plans, again, hitting some of those public work projects that are on the horizon. Again, we talked a little bit about the I&I work, where that's at, the wetlands park project, where that's at, some roadway improvement stuff. There are targeted projects to talk about. Maybe not the master plans in their full, obviously the 5 year, and then developing the APP. This is a very meaty agenda, but also kind of condensed. And a thought would be, if you're okay sticking to this, we're thinking this could be done probably from like 8 to 2:30 instead of our kind of 8 to 4:30. That's not to say, it will be a full day, but want to pause here and just get your thoughts and comments on this agenda.
Initial thoughts, comments?
It looks
Looks like
good.
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it looks like we've covered the important things in this agenda. A lot on fire, and we're going to be getting it before and after, and yeah, so I can't think of anything I'd add to that. I don't know if anybody else can or wants to.
I'm just going to echo that and just saying, I think heavily, we're going to talk a lot about fire. Maybe that might not be our intention, but that's where the conversation.
Well, that's the intention. It's a very fire focused, because that's where the work is leading. It's say the biggest thing impacting our community, right now and for the next foreseeable couple of years, as we try to navigate as a region. How do we solve this problem?
Comments, questions?
Yeah, nothing. I've never been to one, so I can't help.
Yeah.
It's fun.
No, I think it's great. I think you reminded me of something as you have it on here. As we continue this fire discussion, it's not only fire, it's EMS also. And so I think it's important that that's how at least we reference it. We don't forget the EMS portion of the service that they provide as well. So, but I think, it's kind of be really what do we hear back from the community, and how do we?
Where's the task force going? What are we hearing from the community?
I think that's going to be a big driving force factor on our retreat. But I think these are kind of what we need to be focused on right now. And we've talked about in previous years, where some projects have to kind of take a little back step because, again, there's pressing things. I think this is the right time to do so.
And it could also be, and we'll talk more here because we'll know more, but it could be that some projects take a longer path because you all decide to really either not do a levy and just use up, some savings and every last penny of general fund and not, add to capital reserve funds or whatnot, or it's like, well, we still need a bit of a levy, but we're still going to push out these projects because we know, again, every dollar we get comes from our community. So a lot to talk about.
One question, and I know like in years past, well, maybe not last year, but other years we've had a facilitator. And last year we did have Praxis at our meeting,
Mhm.
as we're looking at potential levy and continuing, community conversations and things of that nature, is that a thought of having them there?
Great segue. Because we'd already
knew.
thought about Praxis, talked with Praxis about this, being involved in these discussions, because whether it's for talking points, targeted next steps, again, at this point, we wouldn't have referred anything. So there's a lot we can talk about and a lot we can do with Praxis in that conversation, with staff in that conversation. So the thought would be, at least for that first chunk of the day, kind of 8 to noon, lunchtime, Praxis is there, both listening to the conversation, helping lead in the conversation, asking questions. At Praxis, we have hired, it's a PR firm, and they help develop talking points, and they do work with polling and ballot measures, and staff meets with them weekly, and it's how we've kind of refined our talking points and all of that. So yeah, the thought was have Praxis is kind of that first, all things fire they should be involved with.
I agree.
Okay. So then the next one, and if you can't answer this tonight, that's okay, but we'd love to be able to kind of get this booked sooner than later. So typically it's held on a Saturday, February. Again, typically 8 to 4:30. We're thinking kind of 8 to 2:30. We've got a few dates: January 31st, February 7th, or 21st. Again, trying to get it early, because at some point in February, we need to finalize, if we're going to do a levy, that language is finalized, the rate, then it goes actually out, and then there's limits of what we as staff can do with that. And Jeff won't be here anymore, so shameful. So we'll need to do everything we can to keep ourselves out of trouble. But any dates stand out to you as don't work?
Maybe not the 21st for me.
Of February.
Yeah, but January 31st or 7th.
Any other comments?
And I like the 8 to 2.
Which one did you say?
Just not the 21st.
Oh, I was going middle ground, February 7th.
7th?
21st is enough for me. We are usually in Hawaii in February, so.
Yeah, and I'm joining her.
The agency does the retreats in Hawaii, and up
Hey.
until lately, it wasn't a problem.
Does that do that?
Greg.
I don't think they do that anymore.
To that agency.
Do we have any data, Jeff?
So yeah, no retreats in Hawaii, but you're free to go on your own time.
Darn.
So what this
But
one,
what if there was? No, I'm just kidding.
But Jeff hasn't provided us the data yet. What are the repercussions?
so how does the 7th work? It seemed like the 7th.
I think the 7th works for most of all of us here. I think it'd be just ensuring that Counselor Minor is aware that
That is the
we-
date been selected, so
we've
put it on your
selected the
calendar.
7th, so yes.
Is that
no
8
traveling,
a.m.
No
On
traveling.
that, 8 a.m.? Okay.
If that works for everyone, I mean, 8:30. We can always do like an 8 o'clock start, but really start the agenda 8:30. So there's time to get here and maybe have we provide food stuff. So some breakfast stuff, some lunch stuff, snack stuffs.
And Greg's always in charge of the snacks.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Good, Greg.
Good, Greg.
I snacks out like you'd think a 12-year-old that was given $20 for a sleepover would.
We're not taking you to Costco. You're gonna be like my kids.
Yes, I would.
Keep going by
Pick the
himself.
same snack for my kids.
So I can usually pick a snack for the retreat, and then the rest are picked by the management team.
I like caramel.
I like Greg.
Hmm?
I like the healthier.
Any
fruit snacks.
childcare or other needs to consider, or just, the 7th? Well, obviously we'll have foodstuffs and a variety of foodstuffs. We'll have Praxis. Anything else you want as part of this event?
Nope. I think, yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay. Yeah.
I was thinking, maybe we do I know there's a few of us, or all of us, know each other, maybe doing like a little icebreaker.
We
Like
can figure
something different to how
something
get to
out.
know each other, something
Do what?
like a team building, just something quick. It doesn't
Oh,
It doesn't have-
hey, time.
all for it. I think it like brings out
She needs
Yeah,
some
if
kumbaya.
you were a flower, what
Deep-
flower would you be?
exactly. If you wanted the sky to be a certain color, what color would you make it? I don't know, something like that.
Two truths and a lie.
Okay, not that one.
Oh.
Then you get too personal there.
It could be a game too. It's just something just
Well,
light.
I will have the team discuss that because you don't want what I got. So. Yeah, we'll have some, maybe some morning icebreaker things
Yeah, just to
and
get
maybe
to
an
know
after
them.
lunch little quick thing too.
Or it could just be in the morning. Yeah, I just
Something together. We'll put something together.
be nice to get to know you and
Okay, well, thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Last item, we'll go ahead and do discussion on utility relief program with Seth.
Mr. Mayor, Council. Oops, sorry. I will share that. So this is supposed to say utility assistance proposal. I don't know.
I see it.
I don't. I don't.
We were wondering that
Did
too.
did
Not
not
now.
like it. So forgive me for that.
I see
Work
the
of
you.
art.
Background, that's what this says. Okay. So some background on the utility assistance program. So as part of the initial COVID funds through PDX Cares and then through ARPA, council made a decision to take that money and to offer that to people in need with their utility bills. So we didn't shut people's utilities. We didn't shut off bills for a year and a half. We geared up these programs. So the most recent one was the ARPA. And that started in September of 2021. Was when council discussed it. It ran from November of 21 through June 30th of 2022. Total of over $100,000 provided. And as you can see in that program, we had 87 unique applicants who applied, submitted 224 applications. And that was after the initial PDX Cares, the conversation came up about we have a lot of residents who don't get a water and sewer bill directly from the city. Part of mobile home parks, condominiums, multifamily aren't able to apply for our utility assistance programs, and that was an issue. At the same time, it was when we started up the program initially, it was only city funds because we wanted to make sure that the funds were actually getting to the people who needed them rather than taking a larger government role of sending money out the door and dropping out of a helicopter and hoping that it got to the people who needed it. We didn't do it that way. We wanted to make sure that it went to people's basic utilities and that we could account for all the money the program spent. With ARPA, we opened it up and allowed for private utilities to be applied for. So PG, Northwest Natural Gas. The other impetus for that was we also had a lot of money coming in that we needed to then distribute. So this was a way to get more money, more of that money that was intended to help ease people's financial burdens through the COVID pandemic to the people who needed it the most. So that was kind of the background of the program. This was the recap after everything was said and done. We reported back to council of how the money had been spent. And so for the private utilities, we paid PGE and Northwest Natural and Waste Management directly for the bills that were submitted to us. So we made sure that they were going to people, the person who applied for it, we didn't send them cash. We paid their bill on their behalf. So
that was the background of the program. We also talked about, kind of did some income verification. We talked about we're a small staff. We want to make sure that this is getting people who needs it, but we don't have the resources or time to run down income verification. So we said, if you qualify for any means tested program through the state, feds, or county, we're going to assume that you're in need. So that could be, SNAP food stamps, that could be low income assistance, it could be rental assistance. There's programs that do energy bills, Oregon Health Plan. Again, all of these are means tested in some form. And if you applied for those programs, that we took that as verification that you did have a need. So that was how we set up the program, tried to reduce the administrative burden and cost of administering the program. And overall, I think it was successful, and we were able to get some good information of, who's using this, what the needs are in the community, all of that. So as part of the discussion around the holiday food program, the $10,000 that we had been spending to do that directly, again, which started about in 2020 with COVID, guys, the feedback we got from council, the feedback we got from the community is we want this money to go to people who need it. We want it to stay in our community, and we want, running a holiday drive is not something we're in the business of doing. We tried partnering with some folks. We can still look at that in the future, but the top request from the community outreach from council was, let's see if we can do a private utility program and get the money out to the people that way. So we pulled some numbers, put together some projections. So since January 1st, when we made the changes to the senior program and kind of combine those two, the senior discount with the utility assistance program we've been tracking, we've had 44 applications, spent about $6,000 total, with an average assistance on the bill of $140. And that program allows people to apply once every 6 months for their city bill to be paid on their behalf. We also went back and looked at kind of those numbers from ARPA, because during that program, you could apply for both city utilities and private utilities. So the direction we got from council was, if you needed assistance and you get direct billed, you apply for your city water and sewer bill. If you don't have access to that and you only have private utilities that are direct billed, then you can apply for those. But it wasn't necessarily meant to be for people who are already getting assistance on water and sewer through the direct bill. So we went and looked back at our applications from that time period to see how many people applied for both, how many people were just private. And so of the 224 applications we got during that program, it was about a 55-45 split. We had 124 of the applicants got both their city and private, and 100 just had private. They didn't have water and sewers. So we think that over 12 months, most recent 12 months, we're going to have about $8,200 in costs for our city water sewer utility assistance fund. If we look back at the past history, we think that if we develop a program that allows for private utilities, we think that'll probably cost about $6,600, just based on the past experience with these programs. Now, kind of what the proposed program is, and you can't see it because everything got garbled in my title. We'd have a cap of about $150 per application, because our average cost for water and sewer is about $140. It's only available to those without individually billed water and sewer. We decided to propose eliminating waste management. It was a small portion of the bill during the ARPA, and their billing system was harder to bill than Northwest Natural and PGE to work with them and administrate it. And we run into the same problem we get with city utilities. If you're living in a large complex, you might not have individually metered trash. So we would keep the same application process for our city utilities and needs testing. We're not offering direct rental assistance, but we always try and refer people who inquire to the city and county program, the state and county programs. So that's kind of the proposal. We think we can fit it in the $10,000 budget. Again, this would be once every 6 months. You can apply for this. Next steps, if you like this idea and you like this proposal, we'd bring back a resolution to council and then begin advertising the program in the newsletter and social media and whatever channels we can to start offering the program assistance January 1st, 2026. So that's what staff is proposing as a way to take that money that had been allocated to the holiday drive and redirect it through a private utility assistance while integrating it with our existing programs and minimizing the amount of administrative time that staff has to spend doing it. So that's my pitch.
So your first sentence, cap of 150 per application for 6 months.
It's per application, you can only apply once every 6 months. Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be the proposal.
And that's by the household.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be for the household, yeah.
Sorry, with our program, we think meter, but it would be household. You'd have to have, you'd submit the way we did it before is you submit a bill. We verify that the address is actually within the city limits of Wood Village, because when we did the advertising, we got people from Fairview and Troutdale and Gresham calling and wanting it. And we're like, we're sorry, we can't help you. Like, my city doesn't offer it. And we're like, you should move to Wood Village because it's.
No, we don't want any more people.
So if we decide that we want to start offering the program, and then it just goes great and to the benefit of our community members, do we reevaluate if it goes outside of that 10,000?
So what we do, because we would only do 6 months this year, and we already have $10,000 appropriated for the holiday meal program. When we do the budget, we'll check back in and say, here's what our experience has been over the first 3 or 4 months of the program. Here's how much we think we need for the next budget cycle, and kind of would reevaluate it at that point. So we don't have any concerns about going over this fiscal year. We have enough appropriation. We think we can manage it.
And then where would it come from for the next, if let's say if it did go over?
The funding source would be the same as it's council discretionary
Okay.
and again, we spent $5,000 on the Thanksgiving and the Christmas versions of the holiday meal program. We would not be spending that, and we'd be spending it on this instead.
Yeah, okay.
Well, and we historically actually was closer to 12,000, but we lowered it to 10 this year, not knowing what we were going to do. And so let's just presume, it could use a little more. Historically on the meal programs, we spent 12, but instead of, again, the meal programs, it would go towards the utility assistance with the idea of that maybe it doesn't pay the whole bill for someone, but it frees up, up to $150 to then, I can go buy groceries or gas for my car or prescriptions or kind of what they need throughout the year, not just at 2 times a meal closer to the holidays.
And I think this is a great program that this was our intention of reallocating the funds to have the same purpose, just at a different capacity.
And I think that this, compared to what the amount of time that staff spent working on the holiday meal programs versus what our experience was with ARPA, this would free up staff time and be easier to administer than what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
Is there any specific reason the program would start in January and not a little earlier, just due to the nature of the holidays?
I mean, we could launch it earlier. We were thinking that we'd have it in the November and January newsletter, but
It won't make November.
Yeah,
I'm told that it'll make the November.
That deadline this week.
Yeah. But there's nothing to say if you guys want us to launch it December 1st, and we can do that on social media and kind of do some advertising with that, there's no reason to say we can't do that.
Could there be an idea of putting it in the November?
So,
I mean, again, not trying to burden staff, understanding.
that's not the issue. It's the issue is of, we could, if you all say we want to adopt this and bring back a resolution for adopt it because we like this, we want to adopt it at our next meeting, we can essentially then put it in the November newsletter that effective, you tell us the date, whether it's November 1st, December 1st, this is the program, that's what we'll do. I think we just thought, follow the bouncing ball, bring it back at a future meeting, time to promote it.
We can do a resolution motion right now.
I mean, technically you could, but if you're just like, no, we're confident, we want at our next meeting to adopt, go ahead and advertise.
I feel like the sooner the better. My organization, we have a skip a pay for our loans and we do it during these prime seasons. So the holidays and then before the summer starts. So having it during this more needing time when people are going through holidays and being short on funds, I think for me sooner.
Yeah, for me, again, fits really well within that when we did those holiday meals during the holiday season. So, I mean, allowing someone to kind of the ability to do it now versus later. I mean, I think it just kind of fits well, but I would like to hear what the other council thinks.
Well, we're going to have to be sure and get the word out to the people who need it before we start doing it, because if they don't know about it.
I think
and
whether you do
realize it
a
later.
resolution now or a resolution next month, I think it needs to be promoted now so
Yeah.
people are aware of.
Most definitely.
And then I think that's where we're trying to, I'm trying to get at. If we do something either this tonight or even at our next meeting, staff can put something in this
November newsletter.
November,
I guess
December newsletter.
What would you want the effective date to be? Do you want it to be December 1st?
I like December 1st.
I mean, you could, I guess, what do you want the effective date to be?
I think December 1st gives enough time.
Yeah.
Good.
December
To
1st.
communicate that.
So we will put something together for this newsletter.
We need to go.
Go ahead and start typing, Carolyn. Make it up right now. And then at your next meeting, you will see this as a resolution.
Oh,
So
is this not the resolution then?
so please don't then not vote for it when we say you're going to have it.
Oh, yeah, because there is a motion in here.
It was more, I mean, it's cleaner to actually have a formal resolution.
Okay.
I mean, you can say we're going to do it and by golly, it exists. It's cleaner for the record for an official resolution. But if you're saying staff, go ahead and put together this, we'll make it effective December 1st. That is what we will do.
I think that's what council's saying.
Say you cut on quick.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's great.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Done and done.
All right. I think with that, just a reminder, Pumpkin Fest next weekend from 11.
Weekend after this upcoming one.
Yeah, the 25th.
Yeah.
Not this weekend, next weekend.
Yep.
From 11 to 2 p.m., 1 p.m. here at City Hall.
Yes. And then really quick, and if you want, I can put it in actually your packet for consideration for your next meeting, but we did get a request from Kevin Mansfield. He's that Parkinson's group. They use our chamber once a month for their resource networking meeting thing. Support group, that was the word. They had been using a space that was no longer available. They use ours on a short term, turned into a longer term. I don't know if they can't get to another space or just really enjoy ours, but they did request for another year's use of this space at no charge. That's really now out of kind of staff's decision-making ability because you've got an adopted program. So it's really, what would you like to see out of that? And again, I can bring it back at your next meeting, more kind of formally written up. You could see the application, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. They did ask for another year of the use at no charge. So would you like that officially at your next meeting to consider that? It shall be done.
All right. Nothing else. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I don't know if I can make this meeting the time.
Oh, wow.